What's up everyone, this is Cher talking, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'll be doing a full review of the SaGa Soul Kriemhild banner. Or should we call it SaGa Soul Mask banner? Because he's actually the star of the show and I will tell you why. Mask is a masked version of Father that comes from Game Boy games. So-Cho also comes from the Game Boy games. And Kriemhild is an Amazon that shares a style with Jian and can interchange skills, an S style only, and comes from Romancing Saga 2. Masked Father is a tank with heal capabilities, gets even stronger if you have his first style. So-Cho is a damage dealer that helps out by increasing the damage of the party in nuke situations, and Kriemhild is a farmer with lots of potential but locked in 3-turn strategies. Well, we should start talking about Masked Father on rsrsdd.com. You need to search for Mask because it changes the name of the character. Well, clicking here, you'll be able to see that he uses clubs instead of guns. And because of that, his status is more focused on STR instead of dexterity from his past style. They had, as you see, 100% dexterity. So you can still inherit gun skills because the dexterity is not that abysmal, although it's pretty bad, 71%. It should still be enough to hit the enemies. Now, his endurance is 110%, his highest status, so he is a tank that should be used even more on physical strategies. And his will is 82, good enough to not be inflicted with status augments all the time, but could have been a little better. His agility is on 81, that is average values. All the other status don't matter for this character. Love and charisma are pretty bad. He kinda uses love, but more into that later. Okay, so Mask has very interesting passives and he brings one mechanic that was kinda left in the dark since it was introduced. Hostile Protect 2 is the first passive. He has 25% chance to take an aligned place and reduce the damage received. So he protects. Yeah, it's a cover tank, 25% chance to cover someone. Well, two things. If the attack is AoE, you will have 25% chance to cover anyone. And that makes only 4 characters took damage, with Mask taking even less damage than it would take if it was directly at him. So that kinda helps a little if you are using single target healers, but Mask can also heal. More into that later as well. And if you are using Mask in a formation where it increases aggro, if your boss tries to attack someone besides Mask, he will try to protect 25% of the time. So this is the general overview of this strategy. Also, the second part of the passive, when landing an overdrive attack, he will recover all surviving allies' HP by medium effect. Medium effect is pretty close to 1000 HP heal just right off the bat. Because it's done in overdrive, you get bigger values. It should come close as 1.2 thousand heal when everyone is maxed. And that is pretty cool, right? Overdrive attack usually happens on turn 3, turn 4, or turn 5, depending on the attacks you use it and how many times you got attacked. Because he's a cover tank, he will sometimes be attacked where he was not supposed to be, so he gets more overdrive because of that. But there are plenty of ways to get even more overdrive gauge with Mask. But he's even better if your boss has multiple attacks. There are bosses that attack 3 times in the same turn. That will help Mask get his overdrive gauge increased faster. But I have to explain this when we get into inheritance. But just to say, this is a very interesting mechanic. Right now on Global we have something that JP never had. Steel Blade, and it comes from characters like Mirza, that was the first one that released this. As you can see with Steel Blade Light, he's healing for around 800 now. And Steel Blade Light uses 10 BP, has delay as a counterbalance, but does damage by 2 elements. Very nice since it was launched. Anyone should have at least one character capable of doing this type of strategy. After Mirza, we got Leon, and then after Leon, let's just check here on Leon. This style, let me find this style here. Ready for a Toast, has Steel Blade Light as well. The same also appeared on Gathered, Son of Leah. And this style also has it, but they all share the same mechanic. Then we got Rag Robin, that is now the best Steel Blade user. His version is Fire, so you can still have one Steel Blade user focus on getting Polka if you didn't, maybe get hit on the future. He has a skill that's even cheaper with 9 BP, and he heals for around the same. Now, Rag Robin has a passive that reduces damage. With his high protect tension, damage is reduced by 30%. Now, this already makes Polka the best of the competition with Steel Blade, and he's pretty defensive. Now, what about Mask? Mask is a totally different thing. I'm only comparing because, like I said, JP didn't have Steel Blade, so they had to rely on Mask to heal without spending LP in very difficult and long strategies. And Mask is regarded as one of the best characters out there. For very hard challenges, you can heal every 3 to 4 turns if you get into overdrive, and that is certainly helpful. Like here global, we also have another character that is kind of a good companion to Mask, and she is called a ScherBR. Yeah, because she can heal every turn with her telekinesis. That spends 5 BP, but she also gets access to 5 BP. That means that she can keep casting this. It's a source of heal that should do around 200 every turn. And on the start of a fight is good because the boss may not use the best attacks right on start. So you are healing so that you don't get into danger zone. And when you get into danger zone, that's where exactly Mask works better. Because, well, you can use overdrive, meaning that you go first and then you heal everyone. But that it's all based on the behavior of the boss. Steel Blade Light users can use it on turn 1, because 10 or 9 BP, they can use right on start. If the boss starts doing very high damage, you prefer to use it. But if the boss starts weak and then gets stronger, or the fight is extremely long, the enemy attacks multiple times, Mask will shine. So it's not a direct replacement of the strategy, it just adds a new layer and a new method to survive while tanking. A very nice character with a different mechanic that I will explain more down the line. Now let's move on to the second passive, Attribute Boost 1 All. On the start of a turn, he buffs all of his status by 5% and also recovers HP by around 150. The good thing is that this buffs Love and Charisma, so your heal will be better. But it's only 5%, and also the case, so in the end it does not last for too long, it doesn't affect too much the fight, but it helps especially with getting more will, so that you don't get inflicted with status ailments and heal better. Then the last passive is called Our Wall Defense 6, then decrease the damage by 40%. We talked about Polka, Polka only has 30% and has lower endurance. Mask has 40%, buffs his status, so defensively speaking, Mask is the better one. But Polka buffs will, right? So they still have their different placements and strategies. Now moving on to skills, the first one is called Power Dive. For 3 DP you get a C power attack with 18 mod. Remember that on 21 starts B, so it's actually okay because of the cost. It also gives him morale up medium for 2 turns. But he's not exactly your damage dealer, and you should not be using this if you don't have anything else to use. And then the second attack is called Resonant Strike. That one is a row attack with 6 BP that deals a power 35 mod. It's actually not bad, and he can use this 2 times in a row. In events where the enemies are aligned in a row, a power attack is just like, you know, using Urpina, but, well, Urpina has damage passives, right? While or Mask doesn't. Remember, the Christmas Urpina has a 32 mod attack, just so that you can compare the power. The good thing is that right now we can get very strong weapons, especially the Remembrance Gun, and then Resonant Strike will do enough damage to sometimes kill waves. Sometimes only when the event has enemies with low HP. But if they are aligned in a row, this is a very good option to have. And he also carries this stun effect with low chance. Remember, his intelligence is pretty bad, so if you're having difficulty clearing Remembrance Battle, Mask will help with that. Still on the topic of Remembrance Battles, there is Death Master coming, and there will be enemies aligned in a row, so using this attack will help you kill them before time runs out. Now, the last skill is called Sympathizer, a 10 BP AoE attack with a power and 32 mod. As you can see, it has lower mod than the row attack, so it's only for when the enemies are pretty spread out in the field, and that's it, it's just plain damage. Okay, so now we need to discuss something. Mask has a problem with his own skills. He doesn't have anything that most other things have, like Sometimes they have guard up, sometimes they have defense enhancement, sometimes they can debuff, sometimes they can self-heal. He has nothing besides morale up and stun, and those are not useful in very hard challenges. So in order to fix his build, you need inheritance from his past limited style that uses guns. Power of a Guardian Father. The good thing is that they are re-releasing this style together with another banner, so you have a chance to get it. But Rag Robin didn't need any inheritance, so you only needed to summon for one banner to get a very powerful style, while you need to summon 2 times to get Great Adventure to fix his own build. But what is Great Adventure? It's one of the best skills in the game, especially for tanks. This skill attacks 3 times with blunt and slash damage, deep power and 10 mod. Should hit for triple S damage easily. Remember that guns are also very strong. And then with each hit, he will taunt and then give himself a defense boost stance. We need to go to UniverSe SaGa to explain this better. Great Adventure will give you 3 defense enhancements that totalizes 38% decrease in overall damage, and 3 taunts will also stack a lot so that he gets attacked more often. Well, let's say you are in a boss fight that uses multiple single target attacks. You want the boss to attack Father more often, or if it attacks someone else, you get a chance to cover. So getting more hits will allow your overdrive gauge to feel faster, and then you can heal the party. His own special gimmick. So Great Adventure will help with that. You don't need Great Adventure if you are fighting against a boss that only uses AoE attacks, because this doesn't change at all. You still have your chance to protect someone, and it's AoE. It does not need taunt. But for fights that have many single target attacks, Great Adventure really makes a difference. Without it, he becomes a little limited. Remember, every time you get hit, you feel a little off your overdrive gauge. If you are not getting hit, it will take more time to get into overdrive to heal, his special gimmick. Then if it's like 5 turns to get to the first heal, you may already be dead. Or someone from your party, and he only heals people that are alive. So see some of the problems. It's not the immediate substitute for Steel Blade because of this difference. But still, if you have access to Great Adventure, he becomes amazing, and a character on premium levels that will rival even Rag Robin. For older inheritances, you have Submachine Gun. This one is just used for farming. If you have Leon as well, you can combo them together and they will be able to finish some waves by themselves. Then there's Thunder Whip that you amplify into Thunder Whip Plus. Double element C power and can inflict both stun and paralyzes, fixing up Kazinsi and Real Queen on Remembrance for 2 different weapons, guns and clubs, because you can interchange the skills. So this is actually pretty nice investment to finish some of your Remembrance fights right now and for the future. This is a staple character that will be used both in guns and in club. Well, Father is a very nice character. The problem is that he requires 2 styles to perform in very premium levels. I don't think that Mask beats Rag Robin, because in global, he is amazing. He can do damage, he buffs his will, he buffs his STR, and he heals more often than Mask in many scenarios. Unless the enemy attacks multiple times, Mask will take more time to heal. But now let's resume. If you have Great Adventure, this one is nice and will make him much better against bosses that use single target attacks. You can still use Mask with another Steel Blade user, because he buffs himself 3 times for taunt, meaning that he will still be hit more often than your older characters, and you will be able to heal with them as well before you really have to use Mask Overdrive. So it kind of works, although it does not feel like the best scenario. If you are fighting against a boss that has multiple AoE attacks, then taunt does not affect. You don't even need Great Adventure because he's already pretty tanky. He can take the hit before he actually has to heal. Everyone else will need a heal before Mask himself. So having Great Adventure is needed to place him on a triple S rank in our tier list. Without it, he's just a very high double S tier will still work, but will feel a little more restricted, whereas you can bring a character like Rag Robin in many more scenarios than Mask. Still an amazing unit, and if you have the chance to get both skills without spending too many gems, this is a very interesting option for the future. Just a reminder, there's no future style of Father Mask in JP up to this point, but the way that he still works even now on their current content. And now, as a fighting topic, if I have Rag Robin, do I need Mask? Well, in all honesty, you don't. Because I can see you finding strategies where Polka will work instead of Mask. One of the good things is that Mask has different type of weaknesses to damage, so sometimes he will take much less damage because of the natural resistances. But I do believe that people can find a way. They don't need those two characters, although it's very nice to have. If you don't have gems, if you cannot summon for Mask, it's okay, you find different ways to win content. Moving on to the next character, So-Cho, leaving us behind, the gunner from Game Boy SaGa. This character is mostly a farmer, but can also be used in boss fights for some specific situations if the fights are pretty fast. He does not use STR and has a focus on endurance, dexterity, and will. He is not a tank, but can take some damage. The endurance and will are not bad. Dexterity was buffed in global, he has 114% now, so damage will be good. Bonuses goes for endurance and arrows as well. Agility suffers a little, could have been much better, but then he has a fast attack. We'll talk more about that later. His intelligence is 61% because he can inflict some status augments and help in remembrance. Love and charisma really don't matter. He has good status distribution because his love, charisma, and STR are pretty low. Now, moving on, we have passives. The first one is called Strengthened Energy 2, we've seen this many times in the past. Starts with 12 VP and gets 10% increased damage. Then the second one is Weak Point Focus 5, increasing damage by 30% when attacking weak targets. And then Fired Up 6, increasing damage again by 30%. So, well, most of the time he'll be doing 70% more damage, and starting the fight with 12, all about damage. Okay? Then for skills we have Thunder Whip Plus. This is an amplify, we saw that with Father and Mask. 3BP for C Power 17 mod with double elements. Already good enough, but then it has a chance to stun and paralyze. But this will actually work in Remembrance. Other things I don't think it worked because it's just 61% intelligence. There are plenty of other status inflictors in the game for this 2 status. So for Remembrance, he will help you with both the Real Queen and Kazinsi. Moving on to the second attack, we have Missile. This one is a 6 VP attack that deals blunt and heat with C power. Here on UniverSe SaGa we can see that Missile has 19 mod. If you go on Rofus or Father. Submachine Gun, for example, that also costs 6 VP, has only 15 with just blunt damage. So this is actually a evolution of this type of skill. Another good thing about Missile is that because it's now 6 VP and he starts with 12, you can actually use this 3 times in a row to farm Story, for example. And it's stronger than Submachine Gun, and no other Submachine Gun user can attack 3 times. You have to use Random Shot for that, and that has lower power. So the next skill is called Leave It To Me, and this is his selling point. This skill is very strong, but also comes with some gimmicks. First of all, it's fast, so it does not matter your agility, it will always go first. Then it has a single target attack with 4S damage, blunt and lightning. But what about the coast? It will use 12 LP and 3 LP to trigger. And then it will kill him. Yes, it will kill him, because he will just use this kamikaze attack to grant 2 buffs. First, morale up very large for 3 turns, and then guard up very large for 3 turns as well. The guard up is the most game-changing thing here, because morale up is not as important. Increases damage, I know, but then there are plenty of other characters that can increase damage as well. But then guard up for 3 turns is amazing. We need to go to UniverSe SaGa again to check this. As you see, the morale up is 40% increase in damage, and the guard up is 50% reduction in damage, and in very tough boss fights, if If you know you can finish it up in 3 turns, you can use this to increase your damage and then survive a little better with the remaining characters. You can even revive So-Cho if you want, because he still has 2 LP available to fight a little more. I don't know, you can keep using your Thunder Whip, for example. He will not be able to use Leave It To Me again, but this can help if the fight is not too long. I guess So-Cho can even increase the damage of Leon, for example, if you want, and make the remaining party members survive better. But then you have to bring him to fights, and besides Leave It To Me, he won't offer too much. Just explaining the different utilities of the character. Most of the time, you want to bring him for nuke strategy against a single boss. You go, it can just be a farming event, use Leave It To Me, and then all other characters that go after him will do more damage. And usually you'll be able to farm with just him and one other character and bring 3 trainees. That is the way that he operates. Well, there's one character that can compare to So-Cho, and that is the latest version of Mikhail. His third skill, called All Charge, is a full AoE attack that also uses LP, but in this case only 2, so allow him to use it twice. And after that, he grants a morale down effect to decrease the damage of the enemies by 25% for 1 turn only, and also grants all surviving allies morale up, increasing the same amount, 40%, but also only 1 turn. I believe the So-Cho version is better because it just lasts for more time, but then he kills himself. You need to revive him if you want him to participate in battle further, whereas Mikhail won't do that. But one is single target, the other one is full AoE. The clashing thing is the morale up, because you cannot stack this. If it was attack enhancement, it would, but morale up effects won't stack. It does offer more than your standard nuker for farming, because, like I said, there are boss situations where he works. And if you want to bring him for remembrance or other things, it's just amazing, because there are moments where if you don't kill a boss on a specific turn, something bad will happen, and he will help avoid the situations. There's no future style of So-Cho in the game, but the way he works, it's pretty good. He has a niche to fill, and in this niche, he's a double S grade style, operating on premium levels when needed. The next character is Kriemhild, and she is a spear user from Romancing Saga 2, the ScherBR style with Jian. Well, it's just for different arrows when farming, because the skills that you can inherit are pretty bad. Kriemhild herself is a farmer with very high STR, as you can see, 114 and 91% agility. You also get bonuses and arrows for the true status. Her endurance and will are exactly not that bad, so that you can theoretically use her in boss fights, but she loses much of her potential, and the other status suffer from this. Her dexterity is only 67%, meaning that she won this in farming scenarios, but against bosses she may. Law of Charisma don't matter here at all. For passives, the first one is Engage 4. On the start of a round, she gets a 50% increase in damage that lasts for only 1 turn. This is what screams Kriemhild should be brought only on farming stages, because after 1 turn it's over and you lose 1 passive. The second one, Strengthened Bravery 3, when full HP she gets 15% increase as well. This is exclusive to global, and she starts the fight with 13 BP. So, good, she has access to costlier skills right on start. And then fired up 6, increasing damage by 30%. So, she gets as much as 95% increase in damage. Not as high as So-Cho 120, but pretty high enough, and she will do strong damage when farming. Now let's talk about skills. The first one is a Skewer, a 0 BP skill that actually does roll damage with E power and 9 mod. Well, this is actually good if you are thinking about Death Master Remembrance. If you want to save VP, for example, you can start the fight doing area damage without spending BP. But besides this, you will not be using this attack much often, because she has different attacks that work better in farming scenarios. Like Triumvirate Plus is an 8 PP skill with triple S damage, 59 mod, and she can use this 2 times in a row because of Strengthened Bravery. But it has to be on different waves. She loses the Engage 4 passive if she goes to the second turn on the same wave. So use her, kill the enemy, and then go to the second wave and use Triumvirate Plus again. This is a single target cycle that only works when farming events, since in events you have 2 waves. Now, the selling point of Kriemhild is the third skill, Light of Blue Quartz. This one has 13 VP as coast, so she uses everything she has on start, and deals fast, so doesn't care about her agility, as power with lightning and pierce damage. If you remember well, this is exactly the same coast as a skill that you have in the past from Rick. Rick has Flame Frenzy, 13 VP, fast, in his case slash and heat. The mod is the same, 39. Both are fast, right? So you can see where I'm came from. The difference between them is that Rick has a sheep attack that he can use for wave number 2, wave number 3, whereas what Kriemhild does is a charge. As soon as she does the damage, she enters this charge mechanic, and it will take 2 turns to unleash a skill called Thunderbolt. And Thunderbolt is a double S AoE attack that is also fast and deals only lightning damage. Well, this is actually pretty strong, but only on turn 3. We'll need to think about this. First, let's say that you are farming a story stage. You open with Light of Blue Quartz, finish the first wave by yourself. She does have enough power to do that. You have to bring someone to finish the second wave. It will have to be someone like even Matriarch. Well, because Matriarch actually combos well, because Matriarch has Pierce and Lightning in her fourth style, a fast attack called Twin Penetrate. So you should increase Twin Penetrate to 13 BP, for example, and she will kill the second wave. Well, hopefully. The damage is not as high, but it may work, or you have to bring someone else with very high potential for turn 2. And then on turn 3, she will unleash her attack, Thunderbolt, but this time it's only lightning damage, so depending on the enemies, it will do very high damage, or those that are not weak to lightning may still be killed by sheer amount of damage. But what if you are farming an event with only 2 waves? Well, then this attack will be wasted. She will only clear the first wave and then do nothing else. But if she's killing the first wave by herself, I believe she did enough, right? You can bring characters with high-powered attacks on the second wave and maybe they will finish the stage for you. With only 2 actions, it's actually a very good way to farm. Thunderbolt, when used, is actually pretty strong. It has a 49 modifier compared to only 39, but because it loses the Pierce element, it will be even more niche depending on content. Many of the enemies weak to cold are also weak to lightning, so there is that. Kriemhild has nothing to inherit from John. Like I said, all of the attacks are pretty bad, so she is what you see. Very powerful nuker that will at least clear 1 wave most of the time, sometimes help you when farming on story, but besides that, her single target cycle is just average and nothing special. Because of sheer amount of damage, Kriemhild will still be a double S grade in the tier list as a farmer, and her operation against anything else is extremely limited. In Remembrance battle she works, but she's not exactly the best one because she loses engage 4. But if you have nothing else, I'm sure that using Light of Blue Quartz by itself is good because of the amount of VP you spend compared to amount of the damage that you inflict, especially on the next Remembrance battle against Death Master. She will help there, but there are other options you should not be summoning just for this. In my opinion, Kriemhild is just a bonus if you summon on this banner, and totally skippable because power creep eventually reaches her. Now back to the banner image. Is this banner worth summoning for? Well, I guess it is, but for people that have the first version of Mask, because it adds too much into the character, making him a very premium build that stay on the top of the game. For the foreseeable future even, So-Cho is amazing as a farmer, as a raid specialist, and even as a desperate help in very tough challenges where you can finish fast. Kriemhild is just a farmer that works very well in story but is restricted in normal events. I believe that she is a bonus. If you want to summon for this banner, because you do have the first version of Father, you should focus first Mask and then So-Cho. Besides that, if you got those 2 early, stop summoning. You are good to go. Besides, this banner will receive a Silver Award of Value. Even if you don't have Father, you can still use Mask in a limited capacity. If you don't have the first version of Mask, you can skip this banner easily. So-Cho is good, but you find alternatives as well. Now, if you are a new player, this banner does not offer as much. There is a Leon rerun banner, and you should focus on that. When the time comes and you are facing very hard challenges, you will find alternatives. Even get Mask or other tank on a rerun will be better. And for those that have the rag robbing version of Polka, you can skip fodder if you want. Again, they do almost the same thing even if they use different strategies. That is, heal the party while tanking. But I will be summoning this banner because I did pity his first style when we got a rerun, so I also want to showcase him on very hard challenges that I love to play. But it's not for everyone, you don't need both, it's up on you if you have the gens. And last advice, you can even wait 1 week to check what's to come. We already know that there is a banner coming up with Urpina, Azami, and Emilia. And if you have the past styles of all these characters, it may be interesting for you to pull, since you are increasing the utility of them. But that is my opinion. What is yours? Will you summon? Please see here in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. Please subscribe if you haven't, and I want to see you soon in the next one. Bye.